Together, growing in faith, changing communities.
Together, growing in faith, changing communities. My dear brothers and sisters, today I would like us to reflect on the Gospel of Mark, chapter 7, from verse 31 to verse 37. Jesus returned from the region of Tyre, and he went through the region of Sidon to the Sea of Galilee, through the region of the Decapolis. And they brought to him a man who was deaf, and who also had an impediment in his speech, and they begged him to lay his hands upon him. I would like us to begin this reflection by looking at Jesus, who has returned from a particular ministry, and on his way back home, or on his way back continuing the work of God, they bring to him someone who struggles with two things. The first one is hard of hearing. He cannot hear. The second one, he cannot speak. He cannot express himself. What I find absolutely amazing and interesting is that the man does not go on his own accord, but rather there are people who bring him to the Lord. There are people who realizes that he needs help. And that for me is probably the opening line of this reflection. That the man may have been aware that he is deaf. He may have been aware that he is mute. But it seems to me that in the scriptures, nobody tells us that he went out of his own way and asked that he gets the help that he needs. How many of us in our own lives are suffering? How many of us in our own lives are not well? Could be emotional, physical, spiritual, religious. It even could be at home. Things are not okay. Emotionally, I'm broken. I'm falling apart. But then some of us may not have the courage to go and ask for help. Some of us may be too shy, embarrassed to express the need for help. So the first thing that the Lord wants to teach us, it's okay not to be okay. And it is okay to ask for help. The second point I want to talk about, they brought him to Jesus. What is it that they saw in him that made them realize we can no longer sit with this situation without getting any help? And there it speaks to me about the people around us. Upon seeing and realizing that I'm not okay, are they prepared? Are they ready to take it upon themselves to go and seek help on my behalf? Do I have friends who love me enough that they will go behind my back and seek the help that I need? Do I have family members that will confront me with the truth, even though I may hate to listen to that truth? My dear brothers and sisters, I cannot do all things on my own. And certainly you cannot do all things on your own. We all need help. We all need someone that we can rely on. We all need a shoulder to cry on. We all need someone who's willing to see beyond my smile. Somebody who can see beyond your smile and still realizing the pain in your heart. Someone who can look at you and know that you are not okay and not make the big deal out of it, but take you to God in prayer. Do I have someone who loves me enough to talk to God about me on my behalf? The third point that speaks to me, dear brothers and sisters, it's about this man who's been brought to the Lord. He's deaf. He cannot hear. He's mute. He cannot speak. But there is a verb that touches me. They begged Jesus. And if you go to the original Greek, they were begging Jesus. It is an imperfect tense. It is a tense that has happened, that continues to be happening even today. I am begging the Lord on your behalf. I'm reminded of the Gospel of Luke chapter 18, when Jesus looks at Peter and he says to him, Peter, Satan is looking out to get you. You will lose faith. You will desert me. But I have prayed for you. My dear brothers and sisters, there's one thing that I know, and this continues to be the fact of life. Things will not always be like this. If I'm strong today, I'm not always going to be strong. And if I'm going through difficulties, it will come to pass. But there's one thing that remains. Jesus has prayed for us. And this for me is something absolutely powerful. To realize that God continues to pray for me day in and day out. That He knows what I'm going through. That He knows what I've been through. But He also knows what lies ahead of me in my own life. And so when they bring this man and they start begging Jesus, I can imagine in my mind that they go down on their knees and they say, Lord, please help him out. And Jesus says, but why can't you speak for himself? They say, Lord, he cannot speak, he cannot hear. Have you ever prayed for someone that you know needs help, but is in denial? Have you ever loved someone that refuses to be loved? Have you ever gone through an experience in your own life where you hate your own self? Where you doubt everything? And so we find a man who is stuck. I love what happens in the scriptures. Jesus takes him away from the crowds and he removes him. And my brothers and sisters, I want to argue and I want to say, when God is about to do something miraculously beautiful in your life, He will remove you from the crowds. When God is about to bless you, He will take you away from people, He will take you away from things, and sometimes you will think God has forgotten about you. For the last couple of days in my meditation, it has set in my heart and in my mind that when God is working something marvelous in your life, there's a bit of pain. Go back to the book of Isaiah when it says, behold, I've written your name in the palm of my hands. And go back to the Gospel of John chapter 4 where he says, no one will snatch you out of the hand that God has placed you in. And sometimes when God is pruning us, when He's molding us, the process can be painful. My dear brothers and sisters, I continue to say, when God betrays his own people, he is utterly ruthless. For whatever pain you are going through, there must be a reason. For whatever tension you are going through, there must be a reason. Allow God to remove you from the crowds. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, the crowds I'm talking about, it's not only the people. My mind, my thoughts can be my crowd. The things I used to love, the people I used to spend time with. Sometimes God can even remove you from your own family. Sometimes God can even remove you from the work, the job that you're so proud of. Sometimes the Lord can remove you with sickness and plagues. Sometimes God can remove you with pain and misery. Because He has something greater for you. My dear brothers and sisters, sometimes it can be in the plan of God to lose your job. And so many of us think, I'm under a spiritual attack. Many of us can think, why me? Why now? And only to realize God is molding you like a porter in a porter's house. And let's allow God to break us. Let's allow God to stretch us. Let's allow God to mold us. But above all, let's allow God to love us. The other thing that also speaks to me so profoundly, when He's taken away from the crowds, Jesus gives a deep cry. And He cries to God the Father. And He uses not Greek, not Hebrew, but His own mother tongue, Aramaic. Ephata, be opened. Have you ever cried and begged God to do something and the answer was no? Fasted and the answer was no. Went to confession, prayed the rosary, offered masses, prayed any prayer, novenas, and the answer was no. Go to the Psalm, Psalm 22. My God, why have you forsaken me? Quite a number of us love Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, but we forget a psalm before that one. Quite a number of us are quite happy to enjoy and celebrate, but very few of us are willing to sit through the pain and suffering. And so Jesus cries to the Father, and He says, let this person be opened. Are there any blockages in your own life? Are there any curses in your own life? Family curses, generational curses, blockages, where you want to move forward but things seem to be stuck, where you are at the verge of a breakthrough but things seem to be stuck, where things have been stolen from you in the spiritual world, and God says to us, be open. Let the flowers of blessing, the flowers, come upon you. May the Virgin Mother of God continue to be with us, to protect, to bless, and to guide us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.